Hello and welcome back to Mental Health Matters. My name is Andrew Ditzel, and this is episode 24. And today we have a great guest on, and Anthony Pecorella. He's going to be sharing his story, his journey. He's got so much to share today, so I'm excited for that. We'll be right back after this. All right, so I just gave Anthony a brief introduction here. I'm super excited for today's episode, and thank you very much for coming
Thanks,
on
Andrew.
today.
Appreciate you having me on with a little handshake, a little man handshake.
Get it going the right way. So, I appreciate you coming on. Can you just give us a little intro? Tell us a little bit about yourself. You got a great story, so I'm excited to hear.
So, background on me: my name's Anthony Pecorella. I'm 24 years old, from Malvern, New York. For those of us who are from Long Island and don't know where Malvern is, it's a small town, square mile, just outside of Franklin Square. Born and raised, love Long Island. This is my 8th year of college football, which we'll kind of get into that whole crazy story. At my root, I guess I am a football player, but obviously we're here to talk about a more important topic and something that I was blessed to kind of get involved with as during my time as a student athlete, which has been going on for almost 35 years now. But Anthony Pecorella, Long Island, New York. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Great intro. Great to have you.
Let's do it.
Awesome. I'm excited. So let's get into talking about where it all really started with your experience with understanding mental health and why you really wanted to spread awareness about it.
So it was December of 2019. I was a freshman in college, which feels like lifetimes ago. I just finished my first semester at the University of Maryland, started as a true freshman, was on top of the world. No one could tell me anything, yada, yada, yada. It was Christmas Eve, 2019. And for us Italians, we take Christmas Eve very, very seriously. The 7 fishes and the whole, my dad's whole side of the family, no jokes.
Yeah.
Like every year, it's like the big eating day of the year. And for Italians, it's every day, but Christmas Eve is like our big celebration. And I'm sitting at the table with my entire side of my dad's family, and I'm supposed to be feeling on top of the world. And I had this little voice in my head telling me I wasn't going to live to see tomorrow. And now, for a full disclosure, I never thought about killing myself, but just someone telling you, like, hey, this is it for you, pal. And at first I'm thinking, like, all right, maybe I had a little too much wine. Maybe I'm just thinking things. So then I kind of just put it in the back of my head, didn't think about it. Night goes on, and I'm going to bed, and then that little whisper now turned into someone screaming at me. And as we all know, if you're told something enough, over time, you tend to believe it. So I went to bed that night thinking, I don't know how I'm going to die, but someone told me I'm going to die. It was my own mind telling me. So I figured, I went to bed that night thinking, this is it. Next morning I wake up, and I almost felt like, I always tell the story, I feel like I'm walking on clouds when I walk down the stairs. For Christmas morning, it's supposed to be this celebration.
Yeah.
Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is born. We're supposed to celebrate, be with our families, and it's supposed to be this glorious moment. And the only thing thrown through my head is why am I here? And I remember walking downstairs, we're opening gifts, and while I was present physically, mentally, I was off somewhere else trying to make sense of what I just experienced. And I remember, like, in the days following that day, it really hit me that, this is, like, something's not right with my mental, and I got to get it fixed. Now, prior to that, being a kid from Long Island, I mean, mental health wasn't exactly something talked about a whole lot, as you know. But we had, when I was at the University of Maryland, my freshman year, we had a woman come in named Rachel Barbaro. And her whole motto is changing the narrative and making it acceptable and, I guess, destigmatizing talking about mental health. And she came in, and it was the middle of training camp. We're all tired. And I remember listening to her speak, and while I was obviously respectful of her speech, I didn't fully get it. And I'm thinking, how could any of us have any sort of mental problems? Like, we're Division I athletes playing in the Big Ten. What can we really complain about? So then I go home, and I had this whole experience, and she was one of the first people I reached out to because her whole thing was about her mental health journey. And I had reached out to her and just kind of explained what I had just endured, and pretty much said, where do I go? Like, what do I do? Because it's not like you could just, I guess it's not like this. It's like you go see a doctor and they say, oh, you have a head cold, or here's your medicine type thing.
Yeah. I talk about that all the time on here. It's like you break your arm, you get a cast.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's fixed. But with your mind, you can go see a therapist, which if that is something you're comfortable doing, more than welcome to. At the time, wasn't really something I was comfortable talking about.
Right.
But she just said, find someone or an outlet of some sort where you can kind of talk about that with. And I know full that I could have just went to my parents and kind of laid it all out for them. They would have been, and they are to this day, very big supporters of my mental health journey and everything I've done with Healthy Minds, which we'll get into. But they said, she said, go find someone that you're comfortable talking about this with. And what's funny was a quarterback trainer of mine, because in high school I played quarterback, I was a kicker, I was a punter. We'll get into all that football and stuff. But I was trained by this guy, James Brady. And he's one of the premier trainers in the sport. But when I first started training with him in the 8th grade, he was just training kids out of Long Island Lutheran. And I remember we had built a great relationship over the years. And then obviously I went to college to kick. So we drifted apart a little bit because I wasn't training to be a quarterback anymore. Yeah. But I remember I had that whole experience, and he was just getting into meditation and talking about the mental aspect of being a quarterback. I reached out to him because I knew that he, knew me, knew my background, and I knew that it would be a comfortable conversation. So I remember I went to his house, and we sat and had a good hour and a half chat about mental health, what I experienced, and he normalized it. Not that everyone goes through something, so everyone has their own mental health journey.
Right.
But obviously with mine, like a voice telling me to kill, like not to kill myself, but I'm not going to live to see tomorrow. I was trying to just make sense of it all.
Yeah.
And that's when he taught me how to meditate. Now I always just thought meditate, I just sit there, you close your eyes, you breathe a few times, and you're good to go. But this method of teaching me how to count my breaths and really take control of my mind, it changed my life. I do it to this day. Anytime I'm a little overwhelmed, I like to just take 5 to 10 minutes, just close my eyes and just kind of reset and have everything make sense. Because your mind, although it's yours, can, as you know, play tricks on you.
Absolutely.
It's this powerful thing.
Yep.
And that's why I think we're all on this mental health journey of our lives, is really trying to understand how our mind works. So Coach Brady, which I love the man to death, I owe him so much gratitude.
Shout out
because
Coach Brady.
Yeah, he taught me how to take control of my mind. And not only did it make me a better version of myself in life, on the football field, I just felt a more, I guess, confidence in my overall well-being.
Do you feel like it almost made you more of like a well-rounded person?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That's kind of the takeaway I'm getting from that.
And I've always, I guess, been an outgoing type of guy. But this made me, I guess, more comfortable with having tough conversations like this with other people, which then I'll just roll into it a little bit. So I went through that December 24th, 2019. Fast forward a year later, it was the first time I made the story public. It was the middle of COVID. And I just said, you know what? Like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm just going to put my story online on Instagram and just share with the world my experience. And it was a great, great reception. A lot of people reached out, and a lot of my friends reached out and said, you could have come to me and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And there was this girl, Charlie Baker, who was a cheerleader at Merrill at the time. And at the time, we hadn't known of each other. Maryland's a big school. Both athletes, both hung out in similar circles, Jersey, New York. And she had reached out, and she told me the story about her friend in high school who was the captain of the hockey team, all around happy-go-lucky kid, and he killed himself. And she shared that with me, and it meant the world to me that she opened up about something that was so traumatic to her and had not really I didn't even had met her at that point. And I explained to her that I want to do something with our shared trauma. And I said, I want to, like, whether it's an Instagram or an outlet on campus at Maryland, I want to do something. She was all in. And so we had gone to the University of Maryland first and said, we want to start a kind of like a student mental health, I guess, group or something. I don't know how to really explain it. But,
you were just trying to do something.
Yeah. We didn't really know what to do.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to go, which with anything with mental stuff, it's like you had to go through this set of training and this set of training. And all we wanted to do was help people. I didn't want to do months and months of training.
Right.
Which is why I always say when I do have like tough conversations with people that I'm no medical expert.
Yeah.
I'm not a mental health expert.
Yep.
I'm just someone who's gone through their own experiences and I'm willing to have a conversation about it. And sometimes that's all people need. Obviously, there's more serious situations where you may need to see a licensed therapist, which I encourage you to go do. My job is just to be an outlet, be an ear, and be someone to listen
It's
to.
actually really funny you say that, because when I went through and still going through my mental health journey, I was like, maybe I'll become a social worker, or maybe I'll become a therapist, or maybe I'll do something with mental health. But I'm kind of the same way. And I preface for the podcast, I say, I'm not a professional. I don't, but sometimes I
You're just
think,
willing to have the conversation.
right. And sometimes I think that's even more beneficial for people
without a doubt.
than anything else. So that's good. Sorry to interrupt you. But
No,
yeah.
you're good. So then we were kind of going back and forth with these ideas, and then we decided, why don't we just make an Instagram page? Like, there's no rules against it.
Right.
Let's just put it on Instagram and see if it sticks. So that was January of 21. We posted it, and we just said that 2 college athletes, both on mental health journeys, we want to use our stories and our past to help others. And people fell in love with it on campus. And it started out more, we were going to just do more like on the student athlete side, but then it grew to students, and I guess the core of our page, and now this is 5 years later now that this page has been around. The core of our page that we still don't get away from is every day I like to put up a poll and say, how are we feeling? Good, blah. And I always love to have conversations with people who say blah, because one, that's willingness to open up. And I know it's just a stupid Instagram poll, but the willingness to say like, yeah, like something's not feeling right. And I've had tons of conversations with people about what it is they're going through, hardships, and everything's different, from relationship problems, not doing well in sports or school, and everyone has their own crap.
I love that. That is awesome.
And so it's been such a, I guess, life-altering experience to have conversations like that with people. But I feel like because what I went through, I wanted to, I guess, use that hardship of my life to, I guess, like you take lemons and make lemonade. So although I wouldn't, and we'll kind of get into my whole other diagnosis, another part of my journey, but I wanted to use my experience to help at least one other person out there.
Right.
Because I know I'm not the only one that's out there going through it. And if I could comfortably, as a Division I college football player, get in front of a phone and just say, yeah, I'm not okay. But my whole preface is, it's okay to say I'm not okay. But I always like to attach the back of that and say, but it's not okay to do nothing about it.
Right.
Because a lot of people will say, I'm not okay. And that's great. What are you going to do? Because no one's going to come help you it's your mind. You're in control. So although people can say, oh, like, Andrew, I'm there for you. And that's goes a long way. At the end of the day, it's you who has to decide.
It is.
Inherently,
Yeah.
I want to do the work. I want to get myself better. And whether that's seeing a therapist, talking to a friend, like, everyone has their thing.
And I think that takes a lot of courage.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like what you're saying, when you went through that on Christmas Eve, like your initial thought isn't, I'm going to tell everybody on Christmas Eve. It's like,
you feel embarrassed.
Yeah,
you
right.
feel a little embarrassed. Not that my family wouldn't have been, I guess, there for me from the start, but it's just part of you. They've given everything to you.
Right.
They've given anything I've ever wanted. I'm blessed that my parents provided for me my entire life. And the last thing I want to do is say, oh yeah, well, my mental's not okay. Why? Well, I don't really know why. I'm trying to figure it out.
You have these presents. But sometimes it doesn't make sense.
No.
And it's still something I struggle with, and I talk about it a lot, is I have a tough time asking for help.
Oh,
small tasks, big tasks, my mental, even if it's like, nah, don't, I got it, I got it. But it's something that I think is stronger to do than not do, is talk about
without
it.
a doubt.
Because I think, and it is, it's just a tale as old as time of, I'm going to be tough. I'm not going to talk about it. But talking about it, I think, is actually the harder thing to do than not talking about it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And especially when we'll kind of get into this from like a men's mental health standpoint. Girls will post on Instagram. And they'll be the first ones to comment, oh, so beautiful, you look great, you're doing so well, go you. Men don't do that.
Right.
And it's not that it's, I guess, it's not that it's a bad thing, it's just that's how men's mind work. And that's why, as men in this space of mental health, it's important for other men out there to kind of be a little vulnerable. And it's not easy by any
No,
means
definitely not.
because you're worried about how people will perceive it. But sometimes you got to just say, you know what, I'm not gonna say the word I wanted to say, the F word. But sometimes you got to just say, like, you just got to let it go.
Yeah. Yep.
And I say that because I work for a nonprofit, Team Impact. We pair kids with serious illness and disabilities with college sports teams, and I was fortunate enough I got to speak at their gala event.
And you're out there dropping F-bombs
2 years
or
ago.
what?
No, so I didn't say the F word. It was so funny. I said, I can't remember if I can say the S word, but
Yeah, you're fine.
yeah. And I was saying about my diagnosis and how it scared the living out of me. And my friends that were in attendance, like, there's kids in the room. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, I can't. Like, I was just trying to put emotion behind it.
Yeah. Well, that's like me being a teacher. I was a teacher for 5 years. You got to watch what you say.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Wow.
Yeah.
What grade did you teach?
I started high school subbing, and then I taught middle school.
Okay.
So
yeah,
12,
you definitely
13.
have to hold your tongue because then if you say something, those kids are going home.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to know what Andrew said in class today.
Yeah.
It's funny.
All right, great. So you started Healthy Minds. That's your page, and you've been doing that for 5 years now. Wow, 5 years. Does it feel like 5 years?
No.
Yeah.
It feels like I started it yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is a blessing that time has moved that fast. But it is nuts that this mental health journey has been going on this long.
I think it's really cool, too, how you were inspired by what you went through and said, I just want to help one person. But to me, outside looking in, you've definitely helped more than one person.
I hope so.
Which is a beautiful thing, you know? Because that's what it starts as. It starts
I
as
just want to help one.
just a grain of sand, you know? And then you start making an
grows.
impact. So that's awesome. So you're at Maryland. You match up with your friend. You guys get this going.
Yeah.
And then we get to your next chapter.
Yeah. So was there in Maryland for 4 years, graduated, and everything with the transfer portal now, as you know, college football is a different beast now.
Yeah.
And so I graduated from the University of Maryland, and I wanted something different. And they always talk about how God puts you in positions that you don't even quite understand when you're put in that moment. But then as you move further from that moment, it all starts to make a little more sense. So I transferred to Stony Brook University back home in Long Island, wanted to be closer to family and friends for what I thought would have been my last year of college football.
This is just where it begins.
Yeah. So I enrolled in Stony Brook in June of 2023. And a few weeks prior, at my sister's graduation, so I have a twin sister. She went to Catholic in D.C. I went to University of Maryland, 5 miles apart. And so her graduation was a week before mine. And I had this golf ball sized tonsil show up. Now, at Catholic, they do celebration activities from Wednesday to Sunday.
Okay.
The graduation is on Saturday, but there's just a whole bunch of things going on. So a lot of drinking, a lot of partying. So I just thought, okay, maybe bad reaction to drinking that much alcohol. So I didn't think anything of it and went on with the next week of my stuff, graduated, packed up our car, and moved back to Stony Brook. But I still had this tonsil, and I remember I went for a physical. And it was a doctor in the same practice I've always gone to for my entire life. But it was a different doctor. And he took one look at my tonsil, and he said, does it bother you? I said, no, I'm fine. I could swallow, no breathing problems, nothing. He said, all right, then don't worry about it. I said, oh, okay, it's fine by me. I just want to go play football.
Yeah.
So I go home and tell my mom, yeah, Ma, all good, Ma, no problems. I'm
Get back
good.
out
I
on
got
the
to go out to school.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'll never forget the look she had on her face. And anyone out there that has a Sicilian mother, Italian mother, or just any mom will kind of, you come home and they give you that sideways look, you know that she means business. And so fast forward a week later, we see my pediatrician, and she takes one look at the tonsil and she goes, there's no way it looked like this. And I said, yeah, I have pictures. And she's like, we need to get this tested. So they tested me for everything under the sun, sent me to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. He looked at it and said, I don't know what that is. Come back in a month. And I said, okay. So I go back to my pediatrician, and I said, he doesn't know what it is. And then they had tested me for mono and all this stuff. And she said, oh, you had mono 6 weeks ago.
And you never knew about that?
Never had any symptoms, nothing. Just very weird. But they still didn't know what this tonsil was. And then they sent me to another ear, nose, and throat doctor. And meanwhile, all this is going on. I'm getting ready to play
Mm-hmm.
for Stony Brook. So this is June, July. So now we're getting to late July. And I go see this guy, Dr. Kakani, and he took one look at the tonsil and he goes, yeah, that's got to come out. And I said, oh, so like surgery? And he said, yeah, and we got to do this now. So I called the coach at Stony Brook at the time, was Chuck Piori. And I said, and he had known about the tonsil because obviously I was there all summer. I'm keeping with college sports, everything. You got to keep the athletic trainers and medicine staff in tune on everything.
Right.
So I go, I got to get the tonsil removed. I'm going to miss the first 2 days of training camp, recovering, but then I'll be good to go. And he said, no problem. At that point, I was this Big Ten transfer coming home to play at Stony Brook.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't, again, same point in my life when I had my mental health, you couldn't tell me otherwise.
Right.
They do the surgery on July 20th, and they told me, good news or bad news, we'll call you and bring you in to the office and talk about it. So January 20th, got the tonsil removed, doing recovery and stuff for a week. The 26th of July, we get a phone call from Dr. Kakani, and he said, need you to come in the office. We got the results back. And my dad, who works in the city, he said, oh, do you want me to come? And it was always usually my mom and I would do the appointments. And then if it was anything serious, my dad would come. And for whatever reason, personally, it never felt serious to me prior to this point. I just figured some weird reaction I had or something. But something just felt off to my parents, and they just weren't comfortable about it. And my dad's like, do you want me to come? I said, no, go to work. He said, okay. So he went off to work. We went to the doctor. And we didn't even go into a patient room. We went right to his office. And so we're sitting in his office. He's behind the desk. My mom's sitting in front of the desk. I'm sitting on the side. Now I'm kind of like a wise ass when it comes to just about anything in life.
You're probably a fun student to have in class.
Shout out to Mrs. Mullane, second grade teacher. So we're sitting in this office, and he leans over and he said, I'll get right to the chase. I have good news and I have bad news. Naturally, I asked for the bad news first, thinking the good news would make it all better.
Yeah.
He goes, bad news, you have lymphoma. And it kind of takes you a second when you sit back, lymphoma, what's that? And
Yeah.
like cancer? And you're like, then you start processing and your mind slowly catches up to what you were just told. And I remember, I'm saying to myself, there's no way. And I'm looking at my mom, and that's my heart was broken more so for her that she has to sit here and listen to this.
Right.
So I said, what's the good news? And he said, well, if you go to a grocery store and you picked out a cancer, this is the one you want because you're young and you're healthy and you're going to beat it. And I was like, oh, like, again, wise ass. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Mom, we got a good cancer. And again, wise guy.
Yeah.
So we both sat there in silence, and I always tell the story. You could literally cut the tension in the room with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is, getting all worked up. I'm sitting there getting worked up, and I'm thinking, whatever I say next will forever be remembered by myself, by my mom, and by this doctor. The rest of our lives. What do you think I said?
Was it a wise guy response, or was it a...
You think I can go to practice on Tuesday, Dr. Kakani? And he turned and looked at me and said, I never tell anybody no, but before you do that, you should really go home, sit with your family, and process this all.
Yeah.
You got to pick a oncologist, and you got to work through this all. So now it was all starting to really roll. Like
Right. Because you're almost at a point where you haven't even really processed
no,
it yet.
So
In a point where it's like you can take anything on. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, all right,
yeah,
boom,
no
just another
problem.
thing
Yeah,
I can
no
handle.
problem. But then you're like, cancer, and then he
Yeah.
said the word chemo, and now you're starting to think of people from your past that have
Right.
endured that stuff.
Right.
It's your heart just sinks at the bottom of your stomach. And the last thing he said before we walked out was, this is just going to be a bump in the road. Fast forward, get home. And so the first person, I back up a little bit. So we got in the car after the appointment. First person I called was my father. And he was just walking out of St. Patrick's Cathedral. And he had been there because he said, God forbid, worst case, which it obviously was. I wanted to say a prayer to make sure everything was okay. And so then I told him the diagnosis. And he was kind of that first steady hand that said, it's going to be okay. Just going to have to figure out who the oncologist is, and we're going to get through this. And so I always tell the story that I'd ride home with my mom. So it was a 20-minute ride. The first 10 minutes, bawling our eyes out. Why? Then by the next 10 minutes, we were actually laughing about it and joking about it just because it was a coping mechanism for us. And it was
Right.
kind of our coping mechanism for the next 4 months of treatment and stuff.
Sometimes it's the best way to get you through some stuff. Just laughing.
Yeah. And I mean, I make some really bad jokes to this day that I won't share with the viewers. But so I get home, and my sister was working at home at the time. I walk in, I go, Alessia, can you come downstairs? I got to tell you something. No, I'm busy. Alessia, I really need to tell you something. Can you please come down? No, I'm busy. My mom comes, get your... So she comes down in a tude, and I'm thinking, oh, like this poor girl. Like, this is my best friend. My contact name for her is womb mate, because that's like, we've been like this since the day we were born. The last person I want to tell is my twin sister that I have cancer. So I sat on the couch and I told her, and obviously, naturally, she broke down. But again, being a wise guy, she had plans with her friends that night. And I said, yeah, you got to keep up appearances, though. So you got to go. Because I'm not ready to tell anybody yet. She goes, no. I go, no, you got to go. And that was kind of how it all rolled as far as like people find out, because she went out with her friends. And I'll never forget her one friend who she was out with. Actually, her mom is a breast cancer survivor. And she remember texting her. She texted Alessia that night and says, everything okay? You seemed a little off. So then that was how she first found out, that one of the first people that I told outside of my family that I was diagnosed. But fortunate enough, you talk about how crazy life is. So that night after I was diagnosed, my dad called a friend of his from high school, this guy named Robert Min. So my dad and Robert Min were in accelerated geometry together in the 10th grade. Robert Min is now the head of all physicians at Weill Cornell Medical Center.
Wow. Good guy to know.
First phone call, and he said, if you had a 24-year-old, I guess 22 at the time, if you have a 22-year-old son who was just diagnosed with cancer, who do you go to? So then he calls the head of oncology at Weill Cornell, ask him the same question. And then that's when this woman, Lisa Roth's name first came up. And I call her a real-life superhero because she quite literally saved my life. And she does that on a daily basis, does this today. Sure, she saved the life today.
Yeah.
And I owe my life to her. But I'll get into how much she means to me. But just to kind of roll on with the story, just how funny things work. So we had a telemedicine, like a Zoom.
Yeah.
And we were going over my diagnosis. And so we had met with her. We met with doctors from Sloan. And I always tell people it was like a college recruiting process. Who you were going to put, instead of your football career's hands in,
right.
who's you putting your life in someone's hands.
There's a lot of trust there.
And she said, this is just going to be a bump in the road. And my mom had chills because that was what the doctor, Connie, had said. And we hung up the phone and she said, this is a sign from God. And we're really big into our faith. We have our motto, like our family crest. But we have this, it sits on our mantle and it's hung up on the wall and it says faith, family, football. And that's just something we've always rolled. That's our family's always rolled.
Yeah. I was talking to a buddy about that same thing. That's good. I like that. And we'll definitely talk about some faith here today at the end of the episode.
Of course. So we knew in that moment that this is who I wanted to get my treatment done with. For the next 4 months, it's where I did 4 rounds of chemo, but each round of chemo was 5 to 6 days in a row. And my whole, just to kind of bring it back to the mental health aspect of it, my mom's biggest proponent of it all was, you have to have a positive attitude. It's going to suck. And there's going to be long days, dark nights, early morning. It's going to suck. But if you have a positive attitude, you're going to give yourself a fighting chance. So every day I took it with a smile. Obviously, there were days you just feel really defeated, as naturally as anyone that goes through chemo does. But my whole preface was, the only thing I control is my attitude and my mental well-being. So all this talk I had just done from 2021 to now 2023, it was essentially me taking my own medicine, with being vulnerable with my story and being open about what I'm going through. That's why I posted that I was diagnosed after each round of chemo. Actually, before each round and after each round, I would talk about on Healthy Minds what I was going through, my mental aspect of it. And it was essentially like, not that I would wish cancer on anybody, but the lessons that I learned during that chapter of my life, I will cherish forever.
Yeah.
And it both reaffirmed my faith in my mental well-being, in God, and just overall that a positive attitude can literally combat anything.
Yeah.
Like if you are in control of your mind, you can combat even the worst of things like chemo.
I love that.
And it was crazy, but as quick as it showed up in my life, as quick as as quick as it showed up in my life, is quickly exited my life. 'Cause
Yeah.
it was a really aggressive form of cancer, so they hit it with a really aggressive form of chemo. So I was diagnosed July 26, 2023. I rang the bell November 29th, 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very quick.
Very quick.
Yeah.
So I always tell people it was the longest but quickest part of my life.
Yeah.
Because day to day felt
Oh, one day was probably a month. Yeah.
Centuries. But when you look back, it's 4 months.
Yeah.
And then of a 25 years on Earth, is it really that big of? It's just to the point of everyone's mental health journey. Mine took me to having cancer, and that's where I guess I really got grounded in my understanding of my overall mental health, because you spend a lot of time with just yourself, and a lot of reflection, a lot of meditation. So I learned a lot more about myself in my darkest hour, and it's why it also reaffirmed my faith in why I want to be a mental health advocate. Not so much as that I do it for, I guess, just to like bring attention to the matter, but more so just to show someone else out there. Maybe you're someone who's been diagnosed with cancer, or you had thoughts about killing yourself, or you just had a bad day at school.
Right. There's all different
There's
levels.
all different levels. And everyone always says, well, oh, you had cancer, but I just had, no. Like, everyone has their own crap. And that's when we all can get behind that everyone has their own crap, the stigma about mental health will be gone. And everyone will be willing to kind of open up and talk. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that you can't tough it out, because at times you do. Life's hard. And at times you got to just put your head down and fight through it. But there's also times where you really got to take a step back and say, yeah, something's not right. I really do need to talk to someone about this.
Right.
And that was kind of my mom who shouldered that part of it all during chemo. It's just daily check-ins. So how are you doing mentally? What's going on? Because Dr. Roth is in charge as my physical health. My mom took it upon herself to be in charge of the mental health.
She sounds like a great mom.
Oh, the best. I love her to death. Love her to death.
One interesting question that I'm thinking about is, you talked about when you went through this, that you felt like it grounded you more in your faith, your mental health journey, and just like your identity of who you are. Do you feel like, and you kind of answered this already, but you feel like it really matured you going through that experience?
Oh, without a doubt. And not that I wasn't an old soul prior to this event, but it puts a lot of things in perspective at a really young point. Like you're 27, I'm 24. Right.
Yeah, you're 24.
Yeah,
like
I'm you've
been through a lot of stuff.
I can't even rent a car legally. I can't even rent a car. But it really opens your mind, and especially with my experience, I was on a pediatric floor because at the time I had just turned 22, and the cutoff is 21 and 6 months, and I was 22 and 1 month. But with my diagnosis, pediatric chemo is stronger than adult chemo, because kids are more resilient. Their bodies are younger, more youthful. They can handle more.
Oh, but so you're like right on the cusp.
So I was on the cusp, and they made the recommendation of having a higher success rate doing the pediatric. And I said, let's do it.
Yeah.
So you're on a pediatric floor, getting administered chemo, living in a hospital 5 to 6 days at a time. You think I had it hard? You watch these innocent kids, at least not. I knew why I was there. And I always love to talk about this little girl, Anna Delgado. She was my rock, and she didn't even know it. She was this little 3-year-old girl. But I didn't know at the time when I first met her, my first day in the hospital, getting moved into my room. Now, on top of the fact, I'd never spent the night in the hospital prior to this. So not only am I scared about chemo, I'm also scared because I got to stay in a hospital.
What is this place?
Yeah, like this is no 5-star resort. So I remember I got a knock on the door, and this little girl standing in the doorway. Who are you? Who are you? Like, I'm sizing up a 3-year-old. Because I'm Ellie, I'm the boss of this floor. If you need anything, you come find me. And I'm sitting there going, who the hell is this girl? To have such confidence on a hospital floor. Then I later learned that She was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia when she was 1. Beat it. This was her relapse. So she had been there in her entire life. She sadly passed away in April of 2024, but her majority of her life was spent in that hospital. But she made the absolute most of it because it's all she knew. And it, again, talking about perspective of things, she had no idea why she was there. All she knew was, you're sick, you need medicine, this is why you're here. She didn't know she had a life-threatening illness at the age of 1, and then again at the age of 3. And just watching her, how she carried herself, how her family carried themselves, was so inspiring to me. And it was why every time I get a chance to tell my story, I made a promise to her parents that I would tell her story. And so with Ellie, my favorite story to tell with her, our chemos always usually align where we'd be there at the same time. So we always had a routine. Every day, my dad and I would go for a walk around the hospital floor. It was 20 laps was a mile. And so we'd go out for a walk, and we get about halfway through, and Ellie would come out with her mom, and she'd be in one of those cars where you push your, like, with your feet.
Yeah.
So she's pushing the car, and her mom's walking behind her with her IV pole, because we're still strapped up to chemo while we're doing all this. And she'd come out, and we'd play bumper cars. She would bump this thousands of dollars worth of medicine hanging into my body, saving my life, and we were playing bumper cars.
Fearless.
And all the nurses would sit there like, oh, no. But just that brief period to just be a part of something outside of why we were there meant the world to me. And it's, to your point about perspective, it really grounded me and showed me how precious life really is and how you have to make the most of each day, even if it's playing bumper cars on a pediatric floor in 6th floor of Weill Cornell. And so I say that I learned more from that 3-year-old girl. Many people in my life. There's only very few who have taught me a little more than that little girl did. But she grounded me and showed me what it means to enjoy the day. Not even just life, just the day.
Right.
And it's why I take each day at a time. And her motto that I've since adapted is just keep swimming. And
I think I've seen you post about that a little
so
bit. Yeah.
anytime I get a chance to post, I always say hashtag just keep swimming. And now obviously I know that Finding Nemo, that's their motto, and that's where she got it from. But I remember asking her mother, like, why just keep swimming? And this something so simple, she said, when you're out in the ocean, the shore is always in sight. Even if it's not in sight, you can always swim your way back. So just keep swimming. No matter how deep the water gets, just keep swimming. And she said it so, like, just sitting nonchalantly talking about it. And I remember saying, like, oh my God. Like, if that was on a TikTok or something, you'd be like millions of you'd be viral.
Yeah. Say it for us one more time.
Just keep swimming.
No, but the lead up to it. You can't see the shore. Even sometimes you can't.
You can't see the shore. No matter how deep you are in the water, you may not even be able to see the shore. But if you just keep swimming, you'll find your way back.
Right.
And that is so aligned with. I always like to tell people, think of your mental health journey like a dark tunnel. You know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and what are you going to do to get to that light? Because as we know, nothing in this world lasts forever. Good, bad, anything, nothing lasts forever. So you could get through whatever it is that's eating at you right now. And I tell this to everyone at home. Whatever you're going through in your own mental health journey right now, there is a light at the end of that tunnel.
Yes.
As long as you put your head down and do the work and be vulnerable with yourself, more so, not even with others, but more so be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I need help. And that is 95% of the battle, is being willing to admit to yourself, I'm not okay. Then once you're willing to accept that with yourself, then the next step is, who can I talk to? To go back to Rachel Barbaro, she has this motto, find 3 people in your life that you know if you pick up the phone and you call them, they'll be there for you in a heartbeat whenever you're going through something hard. Obviously, it's my dad, my mom, and my sister. I know that those 3, any time of the day, any hour, they will call, what do you need? How can I help? And it's something so simple as that. But when you're really in the nitty gritty of a mental health journey, as you know, there's times where you sit back and you're just like, I'm just not okay.
Yeah. I need someone.
Not
like next week, like right now.
And I need someone just to hear me talk. And if you can find someone that can lend that ear to you, you won. You've
It's
won.
one of the most, I think, powerful things. And to connect it to your experience too, being in the hospital, we talked about, I had Aaliyah Patron on here recently, and she talked about her experience and how it is such a tough thing to go through, but how important that community is and how much you see people step up when you really need somebody. And the community there, community on a regular day, like whoever you are, whatever you're going through, that community is huge. And I really like that. I never heard that three people. Have three people that you can always go to any time of the day. Almost like a lifeline, right? You're like,
It's exactly what it is.
I need somebody right now. I don't know like what I'm feeling, how like I just
I
need
just
to
need
talk
to,
about it.
no doubt.
That's great. I love that.
No doubt.
So to move forward with, you've been through a lot. So going back, it was Maryland, starting
Stony
up
Brook.
Healthy Mind, going through
Brook, yeah.
Stony Brook, going through lymphoma, overcoming it. You're on the other side. And I want to ask you how through this, you mentioned it a little bit already. Your faith played a big role in everything you've been through in your life. I try to end every episode with my own personal faith and how important that is in grounding me with my mental health, spiritually, just really bringing me back to a place where I feel okay. So throughout your journey, how has faith played a role in what you've been through, where you at with it now, everything about faith?
We can all be better Christians, right? We can all be better followers of Christ, and that's something I work on every day. But I always like to say to people who say, "Oh, how could God do this to you?" I say, "Thank you." And they go, well, "What do you mean, thank you?" I said, "I learned more about myself and my faith in that time period than I could have ever in my life." Because you have to really take a step back and say, why? And a lot of times I feel like people who may not be Christians or followers of Christ and don't really get why we're so avid about sharing our faith is God wants us to challenge, not in a way that, oh, we want to go to war with you, God, but he wants us to ask questions. Why? Why am I in this situation? Because when you ask yourself why and not just blindly follow, you learn more about yourself and you learn more about the situations you're in and the experiences that come from it. With me, would I wish cancer on anybody? Not a chance. Chemo, not even my worst enemy. But again, to the life lessons I learned about just in general, I wouldn't change for the world. And I say that because when I was first diagnosed, and I'll admit, that first day I remember you ever seen Different Strokes, the show, TV show?
No, I never have.
So in the show, there's this kid, Arnold, and he always talks to God. He's saying like, "Oh, what's up, God? Like, it's me again." And it's very conversational. And that's how I always like to pray.
Right.
It's just
I think that's the best way to pray.
Keep it very conversational, just kind of just open up. And I remember saying, why? And it was the only time in that entire period where I really kind of wallowed in self-pity a little bit. And I always like to say, it's okay to dip your toe in the pity pool. Don't bathe in it.
Right.
Because when you
Ooh,
bathe
I
in
like
it, that's
that.
when
That's good.
that's when you kind of fall out of what it is you can do to fix yourself being in that moment. Because if you're drowning, it's hard to get you out of that pool. But if you just dip your toe and just say, like, "Oh, this stinks, but you know what? I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to get through this." But I remember that night just saying, "I don't know what you have in store for me when this is all said and done, but I'm very excited to see what it is."
Yeah.
And here we are sitting here 2 years removed from being cancer-free, having conversations like this has been the joy of my life. And to your point about that community, the cancer community is so similar to the mental health community because it's not easy to get up and talk about, "Oh, I lost my hair. I had mind-numbing headaches. I had nausea that quite literally makes your stomach feel like it's in knots and someone broke it in half over their knee." It's not easy. And I was fortunate enough when I was going through chemo, I was able to have a lot of conversations with people who were also in that treatment rooms getting their own chemo. And one boy, I won't share his name, out of respect for not having asked to talk about the story, but I was 2 rounds in to chemo at the time, so I'm halfway through. I'm bald, my eyelashes were falling out, pale, sickly looking. And this boy came in. He was 18 years old, was just about to head to UConn to start his college career, wanted to be a frat, well, the whole shebang. And my doctor had asked me, would you mind speaking to him? And again, going back to our mental health journey and how kind of taking my own medicine, I said, of course. I mean, obviously, I didn't feel all that great talking to a complete stranger as I'm sitting there bald and all this stuff. But I'll never forget, I sat down and I'm talking with him. And it was almost as if I always describe the conversation as if we were in prison. He goes, like, what are you in for? And I said, oh, Burkitt lymphoma. I go, what about you? Well, stage 3 Burkitt lymphoma. I go, what about you? He goes, oh, stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I'm sitting there going, what the hell do I say? Like, what do I say?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that sucks, dude. Like, I
Right.
don't know what
It's
to
a tough
say.
spot.
And we had this whole conversation about what's chemo like and how am I going to feel? And all very normal reactions to how anyone would feel, because all you know about chemo really is from the outside, you are going to lose your hair. And that was his biggest worry. Like, well, what am I going to, like, my hair's going to go? I said, brother, that's the least of your issues. I said, hair comes back. I said, let's just go with the treatment plan, take it one day at a time, and just keep swimming. And that kind of sparked my interest in having conversations like that. I'd always been okay with doing the mental health thing. Cancer was kind of another step to it.
Well, it's kind of like you're talking about with the vulnerability level, right? Like how willing are you to talk about what you're going through?
And I obviously was already coming from a place where I was comfortable being vulnerable, but some people aren't.
Right.
So I had that conversation with him, and then I made it a point with my oncologist. I left my phone number there. I still talk to all the doctors and nurses at that hospital because I owe my life to them. And I said, if there's any boy 18 to 25 that comes through here and needs someone to talk to, by all means, reach out. And I've probably spoken to probably 5 or 6 kids, and it's the toughest point of these poor guys' life. But their willingness to open up as an 18, 20, 21-year-old boy is so inspiring, and it's what drives me even to this day to continue to have conversations like this, because I know that there is somebody out there who's going through their own diagnosis. It doesn't have to be cancer. It could be a diagnosis of any kind. And maybe they're not comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
But maybe they just want someone similar to them to kind of just know that they're going through it.
Right.
And it's why I have conversations like these. But the coolest conversation I had, and you talk about crazy things work, I had a conversation with a young man. His girlfriend, after he was diagnosed, went on social media and was looking up different influencers who talk about cancer comfortably on their page. And she had found this girl who I've befriended, being in this community, as you say, and she said, oh, there's this young man, Anthony Pecorella, very open about his cancer journey. You should have him reach out. And I share that with you because yesterday I got a text from him, and he just celebrated his 6-month cancer-free.
Let's go.
And the fact that he took a moment out of his day where he just found that I'm 6 months, and that's kind of like the first hump. It's getting out like 6 months free, a year free, 2 years free, and then so on and so forth. So that's a first big win for him. And the fact that he was willing to share that moment with me made my year.
Yeah.
And
it means everything.
Without a doubt. But just his vulnerability. We've never even physically been face to face. We've talked on the phone a bunch. We texted a bunch when he was going through hell. But his willingness to share that with me, it just spoke volumes, and it's why I keep having conversations like this, because you never know where it's going to go.
Dude, you know what I think is so powerful too? Like, so this guy reached out to you and he shared, like, thank you, and I'm 6 months, like, thanks for the support. What I think about is, and you kind of talked about this a little bit, of there might be somebody out there, you know, that's going through something, and you might not even hear from a ton of people that you're leaving a positive impact on too. You know, it's awesome. It's rewarding and like so great to hear the feedback, but then to also, it, like, for me, it opens up like a new joy almost for talking about what, like, mental health and whatever it is you're going through, that you might even be helping people that you don't even know you're helping them, you know, like that brings life to me, you know?
It
So
speaks volumes.
yeah, that's great. But to talk more about your faith too, we connected and I asked you about a Bible verse, and you knew right off the bat. You were ready. You had one geared up, ready to go.
And it's funny about, and I'll let you share it with with everyone listening. But it was a Bible quote that was shared with me, a friend of mine, Dan Zan, when I was first diagnosed. And I'll get into more of the significance of it. But ever since I was a kid, when everyone sees the clock, it says 11:11. You make a wish.
Yeah.
I was always a firm believer. Well, if everyone's making their wish at 11:11, I'm gonna wait till 12:12 to make my wish.
Okay.
So when I got diagnosed,
That's
and
great.
he sent me this Bible verse, and not that I didn't look at the words, which are very powerful, but it said Romans 12:12, and I remember sitting back like, oh my God, like God's talking to me through this in some way, shape, or form. Something as stupid as 4 numbers on a piece of paper,
Right.
and it just spoke volumes to me that he was willing, one, to share that with me, and and that's why I wear it on my wrist. Everything I do, all of my family has it. All of my family members have this bracelet, and it's just a reminder. Like when times get tough, just put your faith in God.
Yeah, and let me share the verse so you can talk about it
yeah.
a little bit more. So Romans 12:12 is Anthony's verse here that he goes to, and it's rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in prayer. I love it.
And it's just like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
Rejoice in hope. Times are tough. Put your faith in God. Have hope in Him. He will get you through this. Patient. Times are tough. It's easy to just say, well, I wish this is all over. I don't want to go through this anymore. But the life lessons I learned day to day, I will cherish for the rest of my life. Now, would I have wished I could have gone through it all without experiencing any pain and all that stuff? Without a doubt. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying, because it's an unbearable pain. Constant in prayer. It's easy to pray and say, thank you, God, when things are easy. When things are hard, it's hard to get down on your knees and say, God, I don't know what it is that you're putting me this through for, but I know that there's a greater mission in this all. And I may not see it yet. We may never know. Our whole purpose on this planet is to figure out why God put us here. And a lot of people don't know. And we just try to live each day trying to figure out what it is God put us here to do.
I'm big on that right now, is really trusting. You know, like, it's one thing to have faith, but like to truly, fully surrender
put your say, like,
and trust.
God, I surrender myself to you. It's one thing to say, it's another way to live that way in your life. And it's obviously easier said than done. But I feel that with these experiences I've had where a lot of people say, oh, you must have grown further away from him, I feel like I've grown closer to him because he's allowed me to see life from a whole different perspective. And it's changed my life.
That's awesome, man. Dude, you gave a great story today. You shared some great stuff, and I think everybody listening is going to be grateful to hear what you shared.
Appreciate that.
And what I'm so impressed about is, yes, you have an incredible story, but the vulnerability of sharing it honestly and truthfully. Like, I'm sitting here talking to you, and it's straight up, you know, like, you're giving me what you went through. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me on your platform to share my story.
Yeah, no, great stuff. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in here with Anthony Pecorella. Wow, I can't believe that was 53 minutes. Is that what that says?
Yeah.
We talked.
For an hour, yeah.
I felt like that was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Dude, incredible.
Pleasure, sir.
Absolutely. Guys, so whatever you are going through, remember that your mental health matters and you're not alone. We'll see you back here next time.
Just keep swimming.
That's it, and just keep swimming.